Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. In today's video, we'll be discussing some general dressing tips for slim men, some specific considerations for different kinds of garments, and how to enhance and flatter your natural build. In today's world, a great many people are trying to lose weight either for their health or just for their own image. Here at the Gentleman's Gazette, we believe that as long as a man is following the general principles of style, in addition to feeling healthy and following his doctor's advice, carrying around a few extra pounds is nothing to be ashamed of. With that said, there's also a group of men out there at the opposite end of the spectrum, thin men, who may be looking to find ways to increase their physical presence. Whether or not you're actually looking to bulk up, though, cutting a masculine figure does have benefits. Our subconscious sees fitness as an indicator of health, and we're always looking for signs of strength in potential romantic partners, co-workers, or even friends. With all that in mind, here are some tips from one slim man to another on how to dress well in order to look healthy and masculine. We'll start today with some general guidelines. The first of these being to simply avoid wearing clothing that makes you look frail. Many thin men often try to disguise their frames by wearing clothing that's too large for them, thinking that the extra fabric is going to make them look bigger. However, in reality, the opposite is actually true. At the same time, however, thin men should also stay clear of super skinny or skin-tight styles, because these two are just going to draw attention to your thin frame. What's the solution then? Simply put, you just have to find clothing that's going to fit you just right. If they fit properly, your clothes should drape naturally over your body, fitting closely but at the same time not feeling tight or pulling anywhere, and also not so loose that they're baggy or billowing. As such, you'll definitely benefit in the long run from forming a good relationship with a tailor, as you're probably going to need to take all kinds of different garments in for one type of alteration or another in order to achieve that ideal fit. In particular, pay close attention to your shoulders and your sleeves. The shoulder seam of your shirt should sit right at your shoulder's edge. If it's up too high, the shirt's going to look too small on you, and if it's down too low, your shoulders are going to look like they're drooping. If the seam sits right at the shoulder edge, it's going to properly frame your shoulders and your chest. Similarly, your sleeves should be just wide enough so that your arms can fit comfortably inside of them. If they're too tight, you're going to have unsightly wrinkling all around your arms, and if they're too loose, they're just going to look like you're wearing a pirate shirt. For our in-depth guide on dress shirts and just how they should fit all around your body, you can check out our related video on that subject here. The same general principle is also true for your legs. Wearing skinny jeans or pants with a tight, tapered fit in things like khakis, chinos, and so forth will just make your legs look like spindly sticks, and that won't flatter you at all. Our second overall tip today is to wear colors and patterns that boost your visual heft. As a general rule, lighter colors like white, beige, or pastels are going to make you appear a little bit larger overall. Just as darker colors and the quintessential black are said to be slimming, the opposite effect is true for lighter clothing. Meanwhile, wearing patterns will create a sense of movement in your outfit and will also make you seem larger. When we observe a busy pattern, it does take a moment for our brain to be able to explain to our eyes what it is that we're seeing. That split second of communication means that if you're wearing a busy pattern, people will have to take a second, and that will make you look larger. With regard to specific patterns, horizontal stripes are of course the classic choice for broadening the frame, whereas vertical stripes will make you look taller and thinner overall. This isn't to say, however, that vertical stripes should be completely forbidden from the wardrobe of a slim man. You should just be mindful of the overall effect that you're trying to achieve. Also, checks and other grid patterns are another good choice for broadening your frame. If you're curious to learn more about different kinds of check patterns, you can consult this article here. We'll get more into how to wear check patterns when we talk about specific garments in a moment. In general, though, the smaller the scale of the pattern, the more it's going to increase your perceived heft. For example, wearing a fine graph check shirt would be a good choice if that's what you're going for. Our third overall tip today is to wear multiple layers. With each additional layer you put on, you're going to be adding a bit more bulk. One layer on its own might not necessarily make a difference, but if you're wearing multiple layers in conjunction, you'll be able to build up your frame a little bit more. Rather than simply piling on a bunch of sweaters, however, you'll want to approach your layering a little bit more strategically. Start with the lightest weight fabrics closest to your body, and as you move outward, each subsequent layer can be more sturdy. Also, textured weaves like tweed, flannel, denim, or corduroy give more perceived heft than do smoother weave fabrics. Returning to the concept of patterns for a moment, this same concept of working inward to outward should apply to patterns as well. For example, the pattern on your shirt, if it has one, should be less abrasive than the pattern that's featured on your jacket or tie. Our fourth and final general tip is to try to find ways to make your neck look larger. Turtleneck sweaters are, of course, the classic choice to create this effect, but you also do have other options. For example, you could have a zip neck, a stand collar, or a shawl collar on a sweater in particular. Also, simply wearing a dress shirt with a sturdy collar, assisted further by the aid of collar stays, is a good way to minimize the appearance of your neck because the pattern of the shirt will be carried upward a little bit by the verticality of the collar. With those general guidelines established, we can now move into considerations for specific different types of garments as they relate to the wardrobe of a slim man. T-shirts, polos, dress shirts, or any other type of shirt, just like any garment in general for the slim man, should fit the body closely without being too tight. As we already mentioned, fit in the shoulders and the sleeves is key. Dress shirts in particular should also be long enough that they stay comfortably tucked in throughout the day. If your shirt is creeping out over your waistband throughout the course of the day, that's a sign that it's too short. There are a number of remedies for keeping one's shirt tucked in all day, which we're going to cover in an upcoming video. But for the time being, just know this. The best way to make sure that your shirt stays tucked in is to find a shirt that fits you properly. Next, let's cover the jacket, which is a garment specifically designed to make a man look stronger and give him a more ideal masculine silhouette. Suit jackets, sport coats, and blazers are all designed with the goal of accentuating the features of the male form, making the man look more muscular. They achieve this in a variety of ways when it comes to the details of their styling. One way that a jacket does this is by broadening your shoulders. Many jackets, though not all, depending on the style, will have a bit of padding in the shoulder that makes it look more full and also more angular. Optimal shoulder padding for a jacket is subtle, however, adding only about a ½ inch of height at the very most. Anything more than that and your shoulders are going to look unnaturally angular, almost like you put your jacket on with the hangers still in it. In addition to making you look wider at the shoulders, a proper, meaning a close-fitting, jacket will also taper as it moves down toward your waist, creating a natural V shape. This V shape is a universal sign of male strength, and it should also be echoed even further by related shapes that are created by your lapels as well as your shirt collar. We're going to keep mentioning this today. The most important thing as a slim man to consider is how your garments are fitting you. As such, most jackets that you buy off the rack are probably going to require some sort of alterations tailoring. We suggest you start with the ever-versatile 2-button single-breasted model, though if you want to experiment with a double-breasted jacket, you can still wear one of those and have it flatter your form too. We would suggest something perhaps with a 6-on-2 button configuration. The length of your jacket should hit just at the bottom of your seat, offering you the neatest appearance possible. If it's any longer than that, it's generally going to look like the jacket is too big for you. You can choose either notched or peak lapels based on your own personal preference, but whatever you go with, we recommend that they be at a width of about 3 inches, which is just a hair narrower than the standard lapel width of about 3 1/8 inches. For a comprehensive guide on how a suit should fit, you can check out this video here. And for another guide on just how many suits we think a man should own, you can check out that video here. Moving downward now, let's consider trousers. As we said toward the beginning of the video, slim men won't benefit from wearing pants that are much too baggy, nor will they look good in super skinny cuts. Rather, you should try to find something in the middle, usually that will be labeled, fittingly enough, as slim. You can wear your trousers either at your natural waist, which we recommend, or a little bit lower, depending on your own personal preference as well as your actual height. If you're a shorter man, you can wear your trousers a bit higher to make you seem taller, and if you are tall and slim, you can wear them just a little bit lower because you don't really need any help looking tall. Style-wise, you can opt for side fasteners, belt loops, or suspenders. Though if you do wear suspenders, also called braces, we would recommend that you do keep them under another layer and don't wear them visibly. The strong verticality of these suspenders is just going to make you look thinner overall, which isn't necessarily something you'll want. We'll get back to some of these trouser accessories in a minute. Here's a tip when it comes to buying. Most retailers are only going to describe the measurements of a pair of trousers using just 2 numbers, which refer to the waist size and the inseam length. These 2 numbers, however, don't really give you any idea of how wide the pants are around each individual leg, or what the drop height is from the top of the waistband to the bottom of the crotch. As such, the best way to figure out how well a pair of pants fits you is simply to try it on. If the trouser fabric is heavy enough to fall smoothly, a little bit of looseness in the lower legs doesn't have to be shied away from. But at the same time, you don't want to go too far with this, or you'll risk looking like you're wearing bell bottoms or simply wearing pants that have way too much fabric at the bottom. When it comes to trousers with pleats, commonly accepted wisdom is that thin men should avoid them altogether because of the extra verticality that's provided by those lines. However, this doesn't have to be an absolute rule. For more on whether or not you can consider wearing pleated pants as a slim man or as a man of any type of build, you can consult our video on pleated pants here. Trouser cuffs can also add some additional visual weight, as well as providing a slight horizontal line around your ankles. If you're fortunate enough to have many of your garments custom made for you, you can go ahead and make these cuffs on your trousers a little bit wider. More casual pants can have their pockets slanted forward slightly to break up some of that verticality. Also, on the topic of pockets, try to avoid filling them up with piles of stuff, as this is a surefire way to make your thighs look unsightly, bulky, or even lumpy. That's not an effect you're going for. Next up, here are a few considerations for neckties. Depending on your own personal preference, a necktie with a width of about 2 3/4 to 3 1/2 inches is going to look good on a slim frame. Just remember that the overall width of your necktie should be relatively in sync with the width of your jacket's lapel so that everything is harmonious overall. Alternatively, knit ties are often only about 2 inches wide, but their added texture and bulk will add some heft to your frame, as we discussed previously in our general overview. Anything narrower than 2 inches, into the realm of super skinny ties, won't do you any favors. Instead, these really slim ties are just going to echo the slimness of your overall frame. Finally, whether you're wearing a long tie or a bow tie, consider something with an engaging and inviting visual pattern, as this extra visual element will draw attention away from your frame. Of course, given the discussion of neckties, we should mention that we've got a wide variety of neckties and bow ties in all different kinds of patterns and materials. You can take a look at them in the Fort Belvedere shop here. To close out our list today, here are a few notes on accessories as well as shoes. Fortunately for the slim man, he's got a good bit of latitude in what kinds of accessories he can wear that will add bulk to his frame without looking outlandish. Take, for example, a well-puffed pocket square in an inviting pattern. This will work similarly to the pattern tie that we just discussed in that it will draw eyes away from the slimness of your frame. Proportion is just as important here as anywhere, of course, and there is a point where an accessory will become too large, making you just look like a clown. For example, overly broad belts and large belt buckles aren't going to do a slim man any favors. For a slim man, you're simply going to be better suited wearing a moderately sized belt with a conservative belt buckle. And regarding shoes, go for something understated and on the slim side rather than something more utilitarian and chunky. Loafers are going to be a good bet for you, as is anything from an Italian manufacturer, as their styles are typically slimmer than some parts elsewhere around the world. In conclusion, then, you don't have to be muscular or physically imposing to project a masculine image. Simply by knowing what types of garments fit your body and flatter you, you can look confident as well as stylish. So, if you're a slim man, what style tips do you have that we might not have mentioned in this video? If you have any, feel free to share with us in the comments section below. And as always, a reminder to subscribe to the channel so that way videos like this can come straight to your inbox. In today's video, I'm wearing an outfit that's trying to follow many of the principles that we laid out in today's discussion. For example, my shirt is slim-fitting, and it's in a small micro-check pattern of light blue and gray on a white background. It's worn under a thick cable-knit quarter-zip sweater in a light beige color. Both the thickness of the knit as well as the color are techniques that we recommended to increase your visual heft. My pants are darker brown but still communicating with the beige sweater and are also in a moderately slim fit. My socks are light blue, which echo the colors in the shirt, and my shoes are my dark oxblood penny loafers, which you've seen before. I wore them because they're small and slim rather than large and chunky, which is another tip we gave you. I'm not really wearing any accessories today, and my shirt even has simple barrel cuffs, which helps underneath the sweater. Overall, I just thought I'd wear something casual and breezy, but that illustrated the principles of dressing well as a slim man.